Hello and welcome back. Wow, that was kind of a lot of stuff that was covered, right? So this hour we will be focusing on the keynote highlights. So what do you think, Ceci? What were your highlights in the keynote?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there is so much to choose from, so it's really hard to maybe just pinpoint and say one specific thing. But I really like the update around embedded steampunk. I think this offering will really help in the digital transformation journey and really helping our customers to implement SAP S/4HANA Cloud and really adapt that solution to their specific business requirements. Yeah, I really liked how, we have these three different approaches. So we have the in-app, we have embedded steampunk, and then we have the app environment in SAP BTP. And a customer can choose what
best fits to
what suits their needs, exactly. What about you?
I actually liked a lot the free tier services because I think that will really help also developers to try out things more easily, right? And at the same time, once they find out, yeah, that's exactly what I want, that they can click a button and then make that solution that they have worked on really productive and then switch to a paid service. So that's what I liked a lot in this keynote.
Definitely. And maybe if I can just bring up one more point. I really like the aspect of having a customer, right, on the keynote and really explaining how they use,
Porsche.
For example, exactly how they use SAP Analytics Cloud, how their team uses it, how it was received in the company as well, and what changes they needed to implement also in the culture to be able to really do that digital transformation journey and complete that digital transformation.
And also having these differences in their shops, right? That's what I also found very interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But as we mentioned before, so TechEd is not just SAP talking about SAP. We just saw it also in the keynote, right? But we want to know now from our customers, partners, from analysts and others, what they thought about the keynote. So Ceci, what's then next in this next Channel 1 topic hour?
Yeah. So next up, we have the expert panel, which is full of external voices. So we're going to have four externals joining us, a customer or from ASUG. Then we have an SAP mentor. We also have an analyst from IDC and a partner joining us today. And they'll be giving us their first impressions on the keynote. And right after that, we're going to have the executive Q&A with our three executive board members, Juergen Mueller, Thomas Saueressig, and Julia White. And they'll also be answering your questions. So again, very important to register on sapteched.com so you can access the Q&A tool, and then you can submit your questions so we can ask our executives here live. And with that, I think I would already like to introduce our panel. So hi, David. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Mervyn. And hi, Phil. How are you guys?
Hello.
Hi.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Great.
Hi.
Great to see you here. All right. So I hope you enjoyed the keynote. I mean, I know we did here. And yeah, Tammy, I want to actually to start off with you because I wanted to congratulate you. I saw that you are an ASUG Volunteer Award winner this year. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Cecilia. I'm really honored to be honored by ASUG on their 30-year anniversary.
Awesome.
Fantastic
Great
achievement, yeah.
So then maybe let's kick it off with you. So what are your first impressions of the keynote?
Well, I took four takeaways. The free tier BTP for individuals. The second one was the free learning. The third one was the low code, no code. And lastly, the BW bridge. I think the free tier for individuals, it just breaks down that barrier of SAP innovation, customers and developers getting their hands on the tool. I also like the fact that he mentioned the Discovery Center because the use cases are there on the mission side, whereas the technical is on the services. So for me, the free tier BTP just lowers the barrier to get in. And, to learn more, I think Anya Snyder has a session in a few hours talking about best practices with BTP. And then for free learning, again, you don't need a log on to go to learning.sap.com. And I know this event is for developers, but I think it's also for business users because I did check out the the introduction to SAP Analytics Cloud Learning Journey. That's, no logon required. There's also a low-code, no-code learning journey. So, we're facing a labor shortage, and this just opens the door for that. And there's a session later with Max Wessel. I'm sure he'll go more into that. And then the other one was the low-code, no-code. I know the Project Management Institute says, we have a global shortage of developers, and they feel that citizen developer is the answer to that. So I'm looking forward to learning more at TechEd about the low code, no code. And then the BW Bridge, I think with Data Warehouse Cloud, I think that allows the SAP BW Business Warehouse customers to move their assets to the cloud. So those were the 4 key takeaways.
Great, thank you. I love how you already know our kind of session catalog and agenda by heart, because you're calling out sessions for all these different topics. So love the engagement.
Yeah, and also welcome David from the American SAP User Group. So good to have you here. What were your impressions from the keynote?
Obviously, a lot of similarities with what Tammy took away. A couple of things I want to add to that list, right? There's first the customer story. I love hearing customer success stories from people that have been able to take the technology from SAP and apply it to their problems within the organization. So to hear how Porus has been able to address their liquidity planning program challenges and to update and consolidate and normalize how they're managing that is a great story to hear. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. The things around the BW Bridge, the AppGyver and applications for within BTP, those are really big step points for our customers. The big things that we hear from a North American customer base are the challenges that they face around skills development to move to the cloud, to move to S/4HANA, and to be able to make those adoptions. And so the things that we heard today actually help them along that journey in a very significant way, right? Because it allows them to not only take advantage of the new technologies, but to continue to use the skills that they've already developed. So that's actually very powerful, and it takes away a lot of the risk that customers are trying to resolve in making moves to the cloud and making moves to newer technology.
Yeah. So what you're saying is also to come from the world where they are right now with their environment over to really maybe at some point in time a complete cloud environment, right? To get step by step in there, right?
Absolutely. It just makes it a much more comfortable step, right? It's not an all-in-one where I have to go, in a fairly large step in one way. I can start to transition in a cleaner way. I can start to transition from a personnel standpoint and managing my skills development. The things that we heard around from the Learning Center and Discovery Center with SAP to help our customers make that journey. Those are all very powerful messages.
Definitely. All right, so maybe Mervyn, from a partner perspective, what were your main takeaways?
Yeah, well, I think Tammy and David covered quite a lot of it already, but maybe before answering your question, I should probably highlight that Zoosh is perhaps representative of an emerging demographic of partner focused solely on innovation. So we don't implement ERP or SuccessFactors or any other core product from the SAP catalog. We focus solely on innovative product and solution creation, and therefore leverage BTP as our key innovation enabler within the SAP ecosystem. So I think for me as a partner, and given what Tammy and David already said, I think for me the keynote was naturally very important for Team Zoosh, as it tangibly articulates SAP's commitment to making cloud centricity the cornerstone of SAP's identity, messaging, and business priority. And the investment in the BTP portfolio is a critical enabler for us in what we do. And for us in particular, embracing open technology stacks through the Cloud Foundry initiative. So that's perhaps something that's really, really critical for us. I also think what's going to help us as a partner is the simplified messaging. So really having all the cloud services and products that are relevant for innovation packaged under the same umbrella has simplified the dialogue. Historically, I think it was a little bit more fragmented and perhaps disconnected as a result of that. So for me, they're probably two of the key takeaways for today.
Definitely. So I guess from a partner perspective also, like you said, you're focusing on innovation. So the BTP free tier would also be super relevant to kind of test things out and try POCs maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, with the free tier, you do get the business application studio, mobile services, you get robotic process automation, SAC, AI extensions. These were all mentioned, throughout the presentation.
Yeah.
Obviously, the free tier will, I think, remove some of the prohibitive barriers that would be there in terms of making a commitment over multiple years or having a significant outlay before you see results from innovation or the potential of it. So I do think it will help to spark more of an innovative culture around the SAP ecosystem. So it's a good move. Yeah. Well done, SAP.
Great to hear. We like to hear that. Yeah. All right.
Thanks. And maybe also Phil, so you're from IDC and Analyst. So from your point of view, what you've heard, and maybe also with the comments you just heard from the other panelists, what were your key takeaways from the keynote that you want to share with us?
Sure. Yeah, thanks a lot, Rui. Thanks for having us, and great insights from Tammy, Mervyn, and David so far. I think from a market perspective, what we're seeing is increased adoption and awareness of BTP, which is, I think, is a very positive thing. It's linked to the consistency of the messaging and strategy. I think Mervyn alluded to that. But I think the three key things that stood out to me that are new as a result of the TechEd keynote today, number one was accessibility, and that kind of encompassed the free tier story, the low-code, no-code capabilities, as well as the learning capabilities. I think Tammy also highlighted that and the importance of that. So I would say that's one broad theme. I think the other theme, which David talked about, was the connections, right? So the connections from the old to the new and the bridges. The BW Bridge is a good example of that. Steampunk Embedded, which I think is one of the coolest product names I've ever come across. But that's kind of bringing the ABAP world to the cloud alongside S4 in an embedded model, which I think is going to be very powerful for developers. And that fits into that the connector role that BTP is increasingly playing. And then the third level, which I think is worthwhile exploring in a bit more detail, is the business impact or the business use cases. So I think to David's point around the Porsche example, the liquidity planning use case was very powerful. But as Tammy highlighted, and what Anya will be talking about later, is the availability of all these use cases in the Discovery Center, which really help developers, partners, customers get up to speed and drive time to value quicker with those use cases. What I'd like to see more of is the interconnection between the BTP capabilities and the teams, but with the LOB teams. So coming together as part of a more coordinated approach to market to make those use cases more prevalent, more pervasive, and scalable across what's now called the intelligent and sustainable enterprise. So yeah, I look forward to hearing more along those lines.
Yeah, maybe a quick follow-up question on that one, Phil. So regarding what we could do better, so what you're saying is BTP and the LOB solution should be working together more closely from a solution point of view. Would you see the BW Bridge as one of such great examples to really go towards that direction? Was that your point?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are examples coming through, and there is another example between the Analytics Cloud and Ariba, all these connectors that are being put in place. But there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of use cases that are being potentially put in place by customers and partners. They need to be kind of leveraged in one community in the Discovery Center effectively, hopefully, so that it's available to everyone. And those use cases are visible and adopted in a much more pervasive manner across the market.
That's definitely a great point. So thank you, first of all, for kind of outlining. I think you basically covered the entire keynote between the four of you, so that was excellent. You pointed out all the main highlights. But maybe a more difficult question is, what did you expect to hear in the keynote that wasn't there? So maybe something that you were expecting to hear from SAP this year, and it just didn't appear in the keynote. Maybe Tammy, do you want to kick it off?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is industry cloud, but maybe that's not appropriate for TechEd. I know there was a focus on that at the SAP Utilities conference a few weeks ago. So That's the only thing I didn't hear anything about. I don't know that I was necessarily expecting it. What I was expecting to see in the keynote was the use cases, I think, which Juergen covered in the Discovery Center. So, for me, I think, the only thing was missing for me is the industry cloud.
Great point. Great point. All right, maybe David, do you have any open items or any lowlights?
I had one great one, but Tammy just took it. But no, again, how do I make the solution work? Not only for kind of the universal solution, but how do I make it work for my industry, right? The big challenge that our customers face is how do I make the most intelligent and least risky decision I can around the technology for my company? And so being able to provide solutions and answers and use cases that are specific to my industry, specific to my own unique context around the use case. Going back to the Porsche use case, right? Other companies and other industries have challenges around liquidity planning that will be different in some ways than what Porsche faces within their supply chain. And so understanding how I can learn from that use case and apply things specific to my industry are huge across the board, not just in the case of liquidity planning.
Okay, cool. I have a question towards Mervyn, because Mervyn, I understood from your side, the Zoosh group is really looking into the business technology platform as the innovation platform for your business. So from your point of view, do you see improvements or also maybe things that you are still missing that you can move forward faster in your developments, things that you had expected at TechEd this year which did not come?
Right. Interesting. Maybe I'll take on two different points, kind of related and kind of not. When it comes to what was missing in the keynote today, I was more so looking at what was there, being honest with you. So I wasn't trying to poke holes in any of the keynote speakers' contributions. But I do think we could stress more that the migration from kind of the old world into the new doesn't need to halt innovation today. That's just something I think I'd like to emphasize, because with BTP, we can isolate innovation onto a separate platform, an agile shell, if you will, around the core. We can experiment there, we can create business applications there, and we can then upgrade the core systems later. And we don't lose the investment in the innovation like we might have done some time ago. So maybe that's something I wanted to highlight. In terms of what we do as innovators and product creators within the SAP ecosystem, I think we do have a breadth of technology now to enable us. I mean, and like I mentioned earlier, certainly supporting OpenStack technologies and containerization of packages. That's something that's important for us to standardize a deliverable and repeat deliver it time and time again. I think where we need to get better within the ecosystem is supporting the propagation, really spreading word about these repeatable solutions to the ecosystem and collaborating between partners to make them count. Maybe that's something I think we need to do as a next step.
Okay, got it.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mervyn.
Excellent point. So Phil, what about you? Anything that you would want to hear more about, maybe during TechEd?
Sure. I mean, I think the audience, the primary audience, understandably for TechEd is the developer community, and I think that the keynotes did a great job of highlighting what's interesting and new for the developer community, and also the accessibility and the connections that we talked about earlier. I think what would be also worthwhile exploring is what BTP means for the executive, for business executives in parallel. So not to say that the developers shouldn't be in focus, because it's clearly the platform for developers, but increasingly what we're seeing in the market is the need for developers to build out their business acumen and understand how what they're creating actually delivers business value. And in that respect, being able to have a conversation between a developer and the CHRO or CFO, CIO, CTO, those kind of roles in the C-suite, I think would add another layer to the sessions, which historically hasn't been in place. So, I think that SAP clearly has strong connections to the C-suite based on its broader intelligent enterprise and the intelligent suite portfolio, I think it's an opportunity to bring those worlds a bit closer together and not just say BTP is a technical platform for the developers. It's actually a business platform. It is a business technology platform also for the C-suite, and bringing in more of those examples in parallel.
That sounds great. As we have just 3 minutes left, maybe I would have one last question, maybe to all four of you. If we would fast forward now 1 year, so we would be standing here, maybe other moderators, or maybe the same, in TechEd 2022. What would you like to be your highlights at next year's TechEd? Tammy, you want to start?
I think what I'd like to see or hopefully experience at my company is a calm upgrade using, an S4 HANA with embedded steampunk, not having to deal with the SPAO and the SPDD, a stress-free upgrade where my custom code just goes through fine using an embedded steampunk, which, I was intrigued by Rich Heilman in the keynote today, and I look forward to the developer keynote.
Excellent. Maybe David, you want to give us your wishes for next year?
Absolutely. I really think as we see sort of the lowered barriers to adoption, the lowered barriers to transition into the new platforms and into the cloud, what I would really like to be able to see a year from now, reflected both in terms of the content at TechEd and frankly from ASUG's research into our member base, would be easier and more adoption of the newer technologies. So whether it's the cloud analytics, moving to the intelligent enterprise model with RISE with SAP, adopting S/4HANA in the cloud, to be able to see more success stories and more adoption of the technologies with less concern. Because that's, when you look at what we hear from our members today, it's around managing that risk and understanding what the challenges are to make that move, right? And what we continue to hear from SAP, which is fantastic, is making those obstacles smaller for our members.
Right, to make it easier for the digital transformation. That's great.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Perfect.
All right, so maybe Mervyn, you want to give also your wishes for next year?
Yeah, maybe two things along the same vein that I mentioned earlier. I think I'd like to see a bustling collaboration between partners that implement core systems and that leverage BTP for innovation. That would be pretty cool. And quite selfishly, I would like to see that we have an extended and broader portfolio of SAP certified solutions delivered on BTP that generate organic traction within the market. That to me would be a real success story to have next year.
Excellent.
And Phil, the last one,
All right,
the last wish for
I'm going
today.
to try and follow those wonderful insights. So 3 things from my perspective. The 12,000 needs to be doubled to 24,000. So that's pressure on the SAP to double the 12,000 number. All of them on free tier, everyone using free tier. So it needs to be used by the entire customer base. The number of use cases needs to go from hundreds to thousands. So thousands of use cases if possible. And more evidence that SAP truly is becoming more of a platform and applications company. So not just platform capabilities to support the applications, but a platform and applications company, because that's what's going to be required to thrive in the digital economy, I personally believe. So those small asks from my perspective, I would say.
That sounds perfect. So we have a good wish list together for next year's TechEd. Yeah. Thank you so much for having joined us, and wishing you a good rest of the day, and stay tuned and stay here at TechEd to watching the Executive Q&A. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So, Ceci, let's have a recap on what we just heard. So, I think what I understood is that free tier has been perceived pretty well by everybody.
Well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we heard a lot of use cases, so that everybody liked to see how the use cases evolve, and that we are increasing the number of use cases that you can cover with the BTP. Yeah. What do you?
Yeah, so I mean, I think what I really liked to hear was that the messaging around BTP has been simplified, and it's a lot easier also for our partners to get the message across, right, to their customers.
Absolutely.
I think, I mean, coming from a PM world, right, I think that's very important that we're getting to that place where it's easier to explain what BTP is, and it's not only easier for SAP, but also easier for our partners, so they can really leverage the capabilities and build on solutions, and then get those solutions into their customers as well. Yeah. So I think that was super important.
What I also liked a lot is this. I think it was from Mervyn, this distinction between what is going on with their road from the what do you call the old world to the new world. That this is not the innovation, that this is really making things ready for the cloud, but that innovation can happen in parallel without disrupting the current business. I think that was something I really liked to hear.
I think, yeah, the term without disruption was
mentioned a couple of times.
Mentioned a couple of times, and that's super important. So like we mentioned, next up, we actually have our executive Q&A coming up, when we're going to have our 3 executive board members, so Juergen Mueller, Julia White, and Thomas Saueressig joining us in just a little bit. Remember, you can still submit your questions in the Q&A tool on channel 1. So if you're not registered on sapteched.com, just go over there, register, and then you'll be able to use the Q&A tool for this executive Q&A session. So I'm actually really looking forward to introducing our executive board members, right? So I think we should go ahead and let them in. I know they're waiting backstage. So Juergen, Julia, Thomas, welcome.
Hi.
Hey. Hey.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we wish it was in person, but at least we can see your faces, so that's good enough. Again, thank you so much for being here today, for being able to answer the questions that are coming in from the audience. Juergen, excellent keynote. So really, the feedback from the expert panel was super good. So yeah, I think we can definitely look forward to TechEd Now and all the innovations and all the updates that will be shared in the next 48 hours. So we'd actually like to start with just a quick round of icebreaker questions, right? So we just want to do a quick fire round to get everybody kind of fired up, our juices flowing, get everything set. So we're going to have just kind of an either-or question. It's one question for each of you, and it's basically just like, do you like, I don't know,
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars fan. Rui, what are you?
I like both.
Okay, I guess you can answer both then. But the idea is that there are no explanations attached out of it, because we really want to get into the Q&A as soon as possible. So Juergen, are you ready? Because I'm going to start with you.
Ready.
All right, great. So first question then for Juergen. ABAP, Java, or Python?
Python.
Good.
Julia, one for you. Marvel or DC?
Marvel, definitely.
Excellent. Okay. And Thomas, tea or coffee?
Oh, I think that's an easy one. Coffee.
Excellent. Great.
So I think thanks so much for these quick responses to get a little bit warm for the Q&A. I think we can now have a look into the questions that the TechEd participants have already raised. And in case you are wondering how the questions come up here for us on stage, just register for sapteched.com. Get into this session on channel 1 and use the Q&A tool. That's as easy as it is. Yeah. And in case you're watching it somewhere on social media, just come over to SAP TechEd. I think, Ceci, we can start with the first question.
I already have a few questions here. So Juergen, I'm going to start with you. One of the most voted questions that was asked actually during your keynote is the future of ABAP or IDE. Can you elaborate?
ABAP or IDE?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do have our ABAP in Eclipse IDE, and that one is the one we are supporting. Also, you saw that we actually enhanced the Business Application Studio quite a bit. So you can still use it, of course, for pro-code development, but also now for low-code development. And there's, as you saw with Marco, a jump-off point to no-code development with SAP AppGyver. That is all I associate to the question of ABAP and IDE. Maybe there's some more details to it. So if I'm missing anything, we still have 25 minutes left. And then please re-raise the question and vote it up again.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I have one maybe that's for Thomas here. So a question that was actually entered just now is how post-pandemic scenarios favors S/4HANA market space on a positive note?
Yeah, I think in general, actually, this pandemic, we learned a lot, and life and business changed significantly. And one of the key components is for sure, in order to be resilient, you need to be agile. And that means new business models, being able to tap into the network to be more flexible in the supply chain. And which means this is all center stage with S/4HANA. So actually, we absolutely believe that with S/4HANA, we give you this agility to be resilient and to be flexible for the future to be. So I think this question is spot on, and we for sure have a huge expectation also for the future, how we can help our customers in this specific time. And for sure, I could most probably use the entire next 20 minutes purely about S/4HANA and the scope and how we evolve it. And you also see some significant announcement during TechEd with the new user experience for S/4HANA Cloud in the preview. So you see, this is certainly a center stage in our activities and in the center of the intelligent enterprise.
Great, thanks. I have a question, I think, for Julia. So Julia, what is the most exciting new product direction for SAP?
Oh, you're going to make me pick? Oh my goodness. I'll pick at least around the tech ed news. I love and I'm very excited about our innovation around no code, low code. I for many years have seen the need for more development, and there's just not enough developers on the planet, professional developers on the planet, for the amount of digital transformation our customers need to do. And to me, the no code, low code capabilities we're bringing out is really an amazing answer, where we can bring so many more people into the fold of digitizing business processes and creating new process experiences in a way that opens it up. And it's also about being more inclusive, about people who maybe aren't a professional developer by background, but can really participate in the digital transformation of their organizations and in the technology change. So I get excited about that area.
Yeah, thanks, Julia.
Excellent. So we have one, also the most voted question right now. Juergen, I think, and maybe Thomas and Julia can also add to it, but I'd like to start with you. So the question is, do you find SAP enables customers and partners similar TCO reductions in the cloud as they did on-prem?
I can start, and then Thomas and Julia, I hand over to you. Yes, on the one hand side, of course, it's TCO, customers look for efficiencies, 100%. But what we saw, and Thomas alluded to that a bit already, is really that customers are, for example, changing their business models. So if you really want to make a step change, then you will see that with the modern capabilities of SAP products and partner products, you can really innovate very rapidly in the cloud. And I think that is the true power of the cloud. If you only want to go on that journey for a reduced TCO, you're on the wrong track. You really should look at how can you reinvent your company, what needs to be done, how can you move faster, more disruptive in the cloud with new business models, etc. So having faster innovation actually is often and should be the motivation to the cloud. That would be my answer to that one.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, because I absolutely can just echo Juergen's words. I mean, we need to talk about the return on investment and the growth we can have, but also on the TCO perspective. I mean, we deliver tools like the Cloud Application Lifecycle Management, like including the integration monitoring capabilities to really ensure that if you go to the cloud, that this is going seamless together and that you can manage your projects, but also the operations of your estate in an optimal fashion. That's why we invest so significantly also to bring it together, for instance, with our business process intelligence portfolio, to really ensure that you continuously improve your processes and tie that all together, which means absolutely we have a huge interest to also support the bottom line and the TCO of our own landscapes with the developments what we have. But as Juergen said, we need to focus on innovation and growth, but for sure, we absolutely also do our homework on reducing the TCO for bringing our cloud applications together.
Excellent.
And maybe I just add on that beyond just certainly when COVID first happened, there was such a focus on costs, but really, it's bounced back in terms about innovation, new business models, new capabilities, which is what the cloud can deliver much more rapidly, but also about sustainability. And, there isn't a conversation I have these days that isn't talking about how are we affecting our sustainability requirements as well and our missions and the cloud capabilities we have around sustainability, managing that green line, understanding it, helping with whether it's your business network or your product manufacturing. So that's also another benefit above and beyond, right, of new business paradigms around sustainability specifically.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And maybe, Julia, if I can stay with you for a minute, because we get questions all the time about how we constantly change our names, our product names. So maybe can you share a little bit about your thoughts, in the future, what's going to be happening with SAP product names? Are we going to have a little bit of stability there?
Good grief. I hope so. I'm with all of you. I coming into SAP new, I guess 9 months ago now, I was like, why do we change our names so much? What's going on? It's very confusing. So yes, I have promised that I'm doing my part to stop all of the many name changes because it's hard to keep track. And so yes, I'm sure they're still going on, but I'm trying to do my best to at least slow down the strain.
Okay, I think that's good to hear for the audience as well. So we are going to, stick with a few of them. But yeah, I have another question here. Yeah, should I go? So maybe it's really kind of a strategy question. So I think all of you, so all three of you could add to it. And I found it very interesting because we've been talking about being a cloud-first company for a couple of years now, and we really want to help our customers transition to the cloud. And we have a question here that was highly voted that's asking about on-prem systems, if there will be any information about it. So maybe, Juergen, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I can kick it off. So certainly we continue to maintain and also invest into our on-premise systems, but also we want to be very clear that the majority of innovation is happening in the cloud. But of course, and Thomas can talk to the localization changes because of changing legislations during the pandemic, etc. We are, of course, adjusting and adding to our on-premise systems, certainly. But what we then also try to do is to build the respective bridges. We try to build the bridges from our on-premise systems into the cloud as well. So that helps most of the customers getting to the cloud. And as you saw earlier, with the data warehouse cloud feature of the BW bridge, we even called it that way. We are building the bridge, for example, from BW to data warehouse cloud. Also earlier in this year and last year, we built bridges to make it easier from business objects to SAP Analytics Cloud, to make it easier from XI, PI to our cloud integration capabilities. And then, of course, there's a small friction of customers that cannot move to the cloud yet. Whereas even in many, like government, for example, banking, insurance, even their regulations around the world are changing, that they can, for example, use dedicated clouds like government clouds. And that is the other angle we take to help these customers also move to the cloud, of course, according to the regulations that apply to them. And we, of course, make sure that we have all the certifications, work with the governments, all the regulators, etc. And then for the remainder that still cannot go to the cloud, also here we are engaging the partner ecosystem to continue innovating there as well.
Yeah, and I think Juergen framed it so nicely that for sure the innovation goes into the cloud. Especially because it's not just about the technology beneath, quite frankly, it's about the innovation we can deliver by using that at scale and make use out of the data we have in our systems, and also rethinking how we leverage AI in this perspective. So cloud is really also a huge additional potential to drive innovation, and we should not forget that. And I think if we think about all of the line of businesses now, talking from an application perspective, it's clear that all of the line of businesses are fully in the cloud. HR, travel, procurement, customer experience is all in the cloud anyway. So in the end of the day, if we bring it to a point, it's about the core ERP, and there I guess with a nice strategy and solution for sure how we can also serve our customers and installed base in various means to really be customer focused. But it's certainly a cloud cloud-first approach, and the innovation speed in the cloud is just unmatched. That's the reason for sure there will be a ton of innovation delivered on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have now a next one, which is also the next most voted one. I think that one goes directly to Juergen. When will SAP open source the cloud application programming model? So it was brought up here.
Yeah, the cloud application programming model, or short CAP, actually really has a lot of fans out there, which is amazing. It is a framework with libraries and tools and languages for building enterprise-grade applications very efficiently. And we already mentioned that a couple of times. So we want to open source CAP. That's definitely a goal we want to pursue mid and long term. So we want to get a few things done there before, some features, functions, some refactoring. So therefore, also in all transparency, do not count on that before 2023. So it will not be next year. But there are a few things that we really want to do, such that we internally, but also the whole community, can then have the maximum value out of CAP, which should not prohibit anyone to already using it today.
Great. And also thanks for the roadmap update, right? We already know it's 2023, so not expecting it before.
Exactly, not before, yeah.
Yeah. So I have kind of a related question to innovation, Juergen, that also goes in your direction. So the question is around low code, no code. And so the question is, how do you think the topic of governance will play in the proper adoption of low code, no code platforms?
Yeah, I think it's a broader one, so open for Julia and Thomas as well. I mean, what do we ideally see? Ideally, we see that basically each and every SAP end user, more than 230 million in the cloud, can become a no-code developer if they want to. So that will also mean that we and at the same time, we have totally overloaded and overburdened IT departments because there's just too much to do. So what we will see is that more and more applications will be built by the citizen developers as well. And then a great example for me is Data Warehouse Cloud. So there you have one part where it's centrally governed, very strictly governed, your financial data, for example. But then you slices of that you make available to certain departments, for example. And then they can add third-party data in order to build whatever analytics tool, dashboard, application they need. And the same is what we will do and strive for, of course, with SAP AppGyver, for example. And with our processes, you have like tightly IT governed, audited processes that you need in order to run a company properly. And then you have like loosely coupled workflows, no-code applications in order to get more like business and LOB demands also covered in an efficient way. And therefore, we also vote for doing this with SAP technology, because there you know that from SAP you will get both the tightly governed, strict, auditable, out of jail card, because everything is covered. And then, of course, we now also enable the very efficient decentral building of applications.
I think, as a former CIO by myself, it's clear that you need a strong IT function and enterprise architecture function to bring that together. And exactly as Juergen framed, this is so critical with all of that you need to think about the compliance and security aspect of data access and authorization. And that's exactly where we absolutely want to differentiate, as Juergen alluded to, by leveraging that down in our systems. And because always when you move data somewhere else out, you need to start the entire enchilada again. And that's certainly something now with the combination of what we have in our portfolio, we can really ensure a compliant way and ensure that all of this authorization and the likes is all respected. So I think as a former CEO, I have a ton of empathy for that, and I believe the governance aspect is important, and to invest into IT and enterprise architecture is a very strategic investment to make.
maybe I'd add in on the end user perspective and complement to the CIO perspective of it's also about, arming the users with the tools to build what they need, not having to translate their business requirements and have that telephone game that sometimes doesn't go really smoothly. So if you have the subject matter expert of that process or of that application extension need, armed with the tools to just build it directly, you get exactly what they want. And so it's also very empowering. It takes the load off of the IT backlog and the core engineering team backlog, but it puts the tools in the hand of the subject matter expert of that business process or of that specific area. So it's a win on that front too. And of course, respecting all of the governance compliance, so you don't let the end user get in trouble.
Right, to make it scalable and sustainable instead of just a one-off extension that you build. Excellent. I have a question around the CX portfolio. So maybe Thomas, that goes in your direction. So the users or the participant is basically asking why there were no content or no innovations for the CX portfolio during the TechEd keynote, and if there are maybe any updates that you can provide on the CX portfolio.
No, absolutely. I think there's a ton of innovation which we jointly drive. So, for instance, especially in the CX portfolio, like leveraging AppGyver and the low-code, no-code as the extensibility to our CX products, this is one of the things we delivered actually, and is one of the first scenarios which are in production. So absolutely. This is super important, especially for the front office, where you know that you have these various demands from the end users to optimize their sales processes, and that's the reason why it's deeply integrated with our sales and service products which we have. So there's a ton of integration. Another news which we shared in the TechEd news guide is the integration between Commerce Cloud and the masses to really ensure that you have a deep integration from the customer to have personalized experiences, welcome pages, offers in place to really address the need. So in the CX portfolio, we absolutely leverage this technology, like also new AI services like recommendation engines and the like. So there's a real focus on that. And from our perspective, to be very clear, I mean, CX is super strategic for SAP, and we really want to connect the dots and make the differentiation with the integration with our supply chain and back office capabilities to truly deliver customer 360, which we can serve. So absolutely, and happy to share more about the CX innovations also in follow-up sessions, because there's quite frankly a ton of innovations on the roadmap.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
And we will have actually.
The challenge of TechEd, there's always so much news and so many new capabilities, right? To get them all communicated. But there is a news guide, as Thomas referred to, and obviously, so much more content through the rest of the event to learn about it.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to highlight that we do actually have a customer experience hour here on Channel 1, and we also have a specific track for the customer experience solution. So again, if you go to sapteched.com, just register for the event, and you can check out all the sessions related to the customer experience portfolio.
I have here another question, which I find pretty interesting, also maybe towards all three. How will SAP approach young citizen developers and invite them to the SAP community? I think this is a quite broad question. I find it quite interesting. I don't know.
Juergen,
I can take a step.
Yeah,
I can take a step at it, especially as we talk about the young developer community. SAP AppGyver comes with roughly 100,000 developers. And I don't know if it's the youngest, so it's a challenge to you out there, maybe your children or even grandchildren. In southwestern Finland, if I'm not mistaken, Tampere was the name of the city. There was, during the pandemic, a boy and a family, and they thought about how can they actually lift the mood in the city a bit. City, roughly 240,000 inhabitants. And then the mother, father, they said, hey, we can bake donuts. And the son, 8-year-old, used SAP AppGyver to build a donut delivery service.
How cool is that?
So in the city, you could then order donuts via SAP AppGyver, and then ideally the 8-year-old is in front of your door and delivers a donut. So I'm talking about young developers. That is the youngest I heard about so far.
Well, we're also very excited about all the new learning skills that are now available, right? So anyone at any age can have access to the learning resources that we now have, and our programs with both secondary and university, and providing curriculum around AI, around cloud. And so that makes it very accessible to all ages and all types of developers.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it was also mentioned in the keynote. And I really like to highlight that, you know, low code, no code means that it's easier, but it's not that you don't need any like learning or any enablement around it to build an application. You can't just start like that. So all the learning content that we're providing, the low code, no code learning journey, for example, is a great place to start. And then you should familiarize yourself with SAP AppGyver and the other low code, no code capabilities. And then you're on your way to actually developing an application. It's a very, very good point. All right.
Yeah, and then it was mentioned often, but the free tier, of course, takes so much hurdles away to just get started.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
We have one question here about kind of the S/4HANA migration strategy, so migrating from on-prem to the cloud. So again, I guess that would be also for Juergen and Thomas, both of you. So what's SAP's future strategy over SAP S/4HANA migrating from on-prem to the cloud?
I mean, first and foremost, I think for us, it's really important that we take every customer with us on that journey. I think that is very important. And that means for sure we need to talk about different journeys to the cloud. And this is also dependent on their individual status and point of departure. We have customers with 150 ERP systems, which they want to move to the cloud, and in parallel do a system consolidation. Others start with a greenfield approach in the cloud. And this is certainly something where we have the opportunity to help our customers in that regard, which means we have the classical brownfield approaches into the cloud. We have greenfield approaches, even bluefield approaches with taking over the data itself and start a new configuration on top. And that's where we help our customers with S4 Cloud. And that is, I think, the opportunity. We actually have built, we have tools for that, like also data transformation tools to help our customers on the journey. And quite frankly, this is exactly where we have our offering with RISE with SAP to help our customers, to take our customers by the hand as a concierge service to support the business transformation. Because this is something where, in the end of the day, we don't want to have a technical migration. We want to live the benefit with leveraging S/4HANA and the business capabilities to help our customers. And that's where we want to, for sure, be deeply engaged to help. And that's the reason why RISE with SAP is actually the vehicle to get to the cloud on the individual journey every customer has. For sure, that's our key interest.
Yeah, I love when you said RISE with SAP, we all instantly nodded, like every one of us, Juergen, Julia, we were both nodding. So it's definitely the message that we want to push across to help our customers transform or move to the cloud.
And you actually already answered also another question, which goes exactly into the RISE with SAP direction, because it was asked, okay, how, if modifications of SAP software goes away in the ERP, and all customization is through approved APIs with RISE with SAP, when does it start, right? So it has already started, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly our key goal is, for sure, we want that our customers can consume the innovations we deliver. And we have thousands of developers who are so excited about that our customers consume the innovations. And for that, we need to ensure that we bring you always to the latest version. Then you automatically have all the integration we work on, all the AI cases and the likes. And therefore, to keep the core clean and to extend on the business technology platform is the key strategic vehicle. And for sure, if you really go to standard, for sure, then for sure, we have the tremendous opportunity with S/4HANA Cloud to deliver, to receive these quarterly innovations which we ship in the cloud. And you still have all the differentiation possibilities by leveraging the business technology platform. So I think this is the key for success. And we want to help our customers on that journey together with, our partners, because they are part of our RISE with SAP portfolio along the way.
Yeah.
The great thing about RISE is it's not just one size fits all. Every customer is on their own journey, and we know, the core ERP workload is complicated. And so the wonderful thing about RISE is we work again with our partners hand in hand to, bring our customers there on the pace and the way that works for them, while bringing best practices, while bringing that capability to standardize in the right journey. And so I think that's why customers are so excited about RISE, frankly, and why it's been so successful, is because it really is tailoring to that unique customer need, but doing it in a way that is, kind of gets them there in the most efficient way.
Excellent. So we have 1 minute left. If we have one more question that maybe if you guys answer with just one sentence each, then we can close the executive Q&A. Do you want to take the challenge?
Sure.
So it's, how do you see SAP BTP as a platform in 2030? Juergen, you want to start?
It's pervasive in the SAP ecosystem. That means SAP applications. We are already working on that very actively with many proof points. In the partner ecosystem, in all industries, for example. And also, you mentioned young people, universities, schools, SAP is for everyone, from the simplest use cases to the most complex ones.
Perfect. Julia, want to go next?
Yeah, I'd say it's ubiquitous. And when done really well, it's actually just invisible because it's so seamless and so naturally integrated. And I think the great platform technologies become just invisible because they're so smooth and so well done.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thomas?
And last but not least, I think it will be the foundation of all of our applications and fundamentally connecting all of the businesses around the globe in a unique fashion. And that's an opportunity which we then will see how we really truly have multi-enterprise businesses and end-to-end processes integrated across all companies and industries together.
Excellent. I think that was a great closing to our executive
And
Q&A.
you really solved the challenge pretty nicely.
Yeah, great. You kept it short, so that was excellent. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. And yeah, I guess you will keep enjoying Channel 1 and the rest of TechEd as we will as well.
See you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
See you. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was a jam-packed hour.
Oh,
wasn't
yes.
it?
Oh, yes. It was.
Getting
So-
the insights from the outside in first, so really understanding how our customers, partners, mentors, analysts absorb the keynote, how they absorb the key messages, what they were expecting to see that maybe they didn't, what they expect for the future, so kind of a wish list that we gathered. That was super interesting. And of course, all the very interesting questions that came in from the audience that we were able to answer with our execs here live. We were not able to answer all of them, unfortunately. There were still a few that were left. But for all the unanswered questions, you guys can go to community.sap.com and just use the Q&A aspect and then ask your technical questions there. If maybe you have questions that are not technical, you can go to the SAP TechEd group that actually Menina mentioned in the pre-show. So again, it's from communities.sap.com. Just access the SAP TechEd group. And there you can chit-chat with other community members, other attendees, other participants, and just have a general kind of chit-chat on the event and how you're experiencing it, or any questions you may have about what sessions to attend, if they have any recommendations, and just try to network a little bit, even if we can't be at a physical event, drinking coffee and eating cake over these recommendations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so again, covered a lot of content in the hour. Yeah. I think one of the most important things that we also wanted to highlight is we have a lot of content for TechEd, so don't be overwhelmed, don't worry. If you don't know exactly where to start, you can go check out the playlists, right, from the community mentors and community champions. They kind of highlighted their top sessions and their recommendations, and they also highlighted why they were recommending these sessions, so you can see if you have interest in those sessions as well. And
go into My Dashboard, and then you find those playlists there. That's the easiest way to get into those, yeah.
He knows the website by heart. I am so impressed. But yeah, excellent. My Dashboard at the top. Scroll down, and you have the playlists. And what's important to remind everybody every single hour that they have to
register for at sapteched.com, and be able to post your questions like your co-participants did, for example, for the executive Q&A. So take that chance to raise your question, to make this your event. To make this really fit to your needs and to respond also to your questions. And with that,
we wanted to highlight also the unlimited workshops again. So remember, one of the feedback that we got last year is that the workshops were filling up too quickly. So this year we were able to provide a few workshops that have unlimited seats. So that means even if you're late to the game, you can still go to sapteched.com, check out the session catalog, and just filter by session type. It's workshop unlimited seats, and you'll find there everything that's available. You add it to schedule, super easy. You get a meeting invite, you can accept it, and then you know when that session begins. If you're not able to attend it there, don't worry, the recording will be available after the event, probably 2-3 weeks after TechEd is over. And then you can just watch the instructor go through the exercises, kind of understand what to do, and then try it out yourself, maybe even using the BTP free tier.
Yeah.
Right?
And if that was much too fast for you, just go to the webpage, you go there and just click one link after the other. You will find it out. It's pretty straightforward. It's very easy to grasp how to do all of this. We also just heard that we have a news guide out. So go to the SAP webpage and you will find the news guide for TechEd with all the major announcements already listed up quite nicely for you in case you have missed it or were not able to watch the keynote so far. You can find it all in the news guide.
Yeah, exactly.
And most importantly, get started for free with the SAP Business Technology Platform. We have so many free tier services, service plans available for you now.
Exactly. And it's so strange, but the 3 hours are already over for us.
Absolutely.
So
it was so fun sitting with you.
It was amazing.
So nice to have you here on stage, or to be here on stage with you.
Yeah, to be here together, it was excellent. I mean, yeah, our first stint as Channel 1 moderators is coming to a close, but don't worry, so Channel 1 is not ending. As you know, it is a 48-hour experience, ongoing experience, and next up, we're actually going to have 2 moderators on stage, so Arla Cullen and Thomas Grassel, who was also my co-host for TechEd 2020, so shout out to Thomas, I know you'll do great. And they will be sharing up next all about SAP learning and what new activities we have there. So stay tuned and keep enjoying Channel 1 and SAP TechEd.
Welcome to TechEd. No, maybe let's bring it down a little bit, Miki, okay? Welcome to TechEd. A little less smile. Welcome to TechEd. The way that I prepare for TechEd is making sure that as a moderator, I'm well alert and bring off great energy to the audience. I'm looking forward to all the demos and learning all the new things. I'm also looking forward to TechEd student session on ABAP. This, I believe, would be a great session for students and anyone looking to learn ABAP. Happy TechEd.